Welcome and settle in as you imagine yourself on duty in a neutrino observatory, the sort of quiet place where the universe is heard not through thunder or glare, but through tiny, patient shimmers of light. Take a slow breath and let the rhythm of your own inhale and exhale set the unhurried tempo for the night. If you enjoy drifting off with gentle science stories, you can softly tap like and subscribe. And when your eyes grow heavy, there is a playlist in the description that can carry you along even as you float toward sleep. How sleepy are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Now the lights are low and a modest glow from the consoles fills the control room with a subdued blue. You find yourself at the edge of a very large, very quiet instrument, a delicate ear pressed to the dark fabric of the cosmos. Somewhere beyond these walls, the detector rests in its chosen shelter, either suspended deep under a mountain where old rock muffles the world above, or anchored far below the surface of polar ice, where cold silence meets a clarity that seems almost eternal. You sit surrounded by softly humming racks, gentle fan noise like a constant lullaby. Displays shift at a leisurely pace, graphs rising and falling like the breathing of a sleeping animal, numbers ticking forward with no hurry at all. Outside the control room, the air might smell faintly of metal and cool concrete, a neutral scent that suggests clean corridors and careful work. There are soft rubber mats beneath your feet, and they absorb the last of each step. Your chair is stable and warm, the fabric friendly under your fingers. A thermos of tea sits nearby, sending up a thread of steam that curls and vanishes into the room's calm. The neighbor room holds a wall calendar with slow squares crossed out in pencil. Each day, a small footprint of patience. The gentle rhythm continues again and again, like waves that never rush, only arrive. Now, let's imagine the detector itself. Picture a cathedral of water or an ocean of old ice, unimaginably clear. Scattered through that volume are glass spheres that resemble sleeping eyes, each one a photomultiplier tube, a quiet sentinel waiting for a whisper of light. The spheres hang from long, careful strings or sit in a lattice on sturdy frames, all aligned to watch the darkness. Most of the time, they watch without seeing. In this realm, a signal is a streak of softness, a blue slip of Cherenkov light born when a charged particle moves just a bit too quickly for that medium, leaving a cone of luminous hush, a geometry of calm angles. Neutrinos are the reason you are here. They are small travelers, almost pure intent, passing through matter the way sunlight passes through a winter window. They move through your hands, your thermos, the detector, the mountain, the planet, and on into space, almost never touching, almost never saying hello. And yet, on rare occasions, when the arrangement is just right, a neutrino brushes an atom and a charged particle takes flight, and the sleeping eyes in the dark catch the faintest signature. It is a tiny event, a soft footprint on a deep snowfield, but that gentle sign carries information from places you cannot visit. The gentle rhythm continues. You sit at the console and keep watch. There are screens that show the health of the detector, the temperature of the water or ice, the voltage fed to each photomultiplier, the count of tiny hits per second. The numbers are stable, drifting only slightly as the night air cools the facility, or as the Earth rotates and changes the background of cosmic rays. Green indicators glow with quiet confidence. Yellow ones invite a closer look, and you respond with the measured movements of a familiar routine, clicking softly to expand a panel, scrolling to a log entry, making a small notation with the calm hand of someone who knows that everything in science is about slow accumulation, days upon days, layers upon layers, patience upon patience. There is a whisper of the past in the way this work feels. Long ago, neutrinos were a hypothesis, an answer to a puzzle about missing energy. Later, they were coaxed into revealing their presence beside a reactor, in the careful counting of flashes in tanks of fluid deep underground. They were found in the echoes of the sun and in the breath of the atmosphere, made when cosmic rays meet air and make showers of particles that drift downward. They were glimpsed from a distant stellar collapse, the faint greeting of a supernova that unfurled its story in neutrino light before the photons could escape. Each chapter was written in the language of small signals and long watches, and each chapter could be written because people sat quietly in rooms like this one and let time pass. You adjust your posture and allow your shoulders to settle, feeling the way the backrest cradles your weight. On the main display, event rates trace a slow band, neither too high nor too low, like a well-tuned bass line that asks for no attention. You open the night shift protocol and check off a line. Verify timing synchronization across the detector. Timing is the pulse of this observation. The difference between hits measured in nanoseconds tells you whether a flash made a streak to the left or a cascade in the middle. If the clocks drift, the sky map becomes a blur. So, you watch the time alignment tests run. Small peaks aligning with other small peaks. Quiet symmetry, reasserting itself, the gentle rhythm continues. From time to time, you send a calibration pulse. A light source couples a controlled glow into the water or ice, and the photomultipliers wink in response. Their reaction marks their sensitivity, their health, their alignment, their mood. One is a little slower today, perhaps a hint of temperature variation or a minor change that will be noted and smoothed by the automatic corrections. Another seems eager, registering an extra count here and there, perhaps a dark count, a gentle mischief of electrons freed by thermal motion. Your notes accumulate like fallen leaves, soft steps toward understanding. The observatory watches with you. Beyond these walls, there might be a frozen plateau where wind crosses a vast open space, a sound like distant breath over a bottle's mouth. Or there might be mountain stone, ancient and steady, pressing down in a protective embrace. Far above, the sky is the same sky. Whether blazing with southern stars or softened by the glow of a distant city, whether clear with a hard winter shine or painted with slow clouds. And through it all, neutrinos pass, almost endless in number, almost empty in their demand on the world, and yet full of stories. They come from the core of the sun, from the crust of the earth, from the hearts of galaxies, and from the patient background of the universe itself. Your monitor shows a reconstructed track, a line that suggests a muon, born from a neutrino that touched something in the detector's embrace. The line angles upward, meaning its parent may have come through the Earth, a traveler that ignored the planet's mass and arrived from the other side. Such events are precious because they point to skies far from the horizon's clutter of cosmic ray showers. Deep detectors know how to listen by using the Earth as a filter, letting it do the heavy lifting, sift for you, steady and methodical. You tag the event with a quiet label for later examination, knowing that the detailed study will come in the daylight of analysis sessions this week or next, or perhaps later. The gentle rhythm continues. Neutrinos come in flavors, a gentle trio of identities that drift into and out of one another as they travel. A soft choreography called oscillation. An electron neutrino can leave as one thing and arrive as another, the same traveler wearing a different hue. This gradual change is a muted announcement that neutrinos have mass, not much, but enough to matter, a whisper of gravity's language spoken by the faintest voice. In the observatory, the specifics of flavor are woven into detection methods. Some instruments see mostly one type, some another, depending on their materials and geometry. Over the years, carefully comparing those views has written a slow continuum of insight, like tracing a coastline by drifting fog. You open the alert panel and confirm that the supernova early warning network is quiet. The system listens for a flood of signals, not a roar, but a soft rush of extra hits spread across the detector. A slight swelling of the baseline that would be an early sign that a star collapsed in the deep distance. It is not an emergency nor a crisis, but a gentle heads up that something rare and beautiful may be happening somewhere far away. Drills ensure that everyone knows how to note the pattern, how to send a courteous message to colleagues who also listen to the night. The chance of such a moment is small, and the quiet wait continues. The gentle rhythm continues. Back on the console, a dashboard counts data written to disks and tapes. Some is stored locally in a library full of silent cartridges, neat rows with labels in calm fonts. Some is streamed away to distant centers, gently checked, then checked again. Every piece of information is treated with patience and care. Checksums are verified. Metadata is attached. The geometry of the detector is updated in a soft, steady cadence. When a cable map changes or a light source's output is adjusted, it is noted in a database that feels like a long memory, a calm archive that remembers what the instrument has been through. You sip your tea. The taste is mild. It warms your chest and brings no drama. Perhaps it carries a hint of chamomile or a whisper of mint. The heat leaves your tongue slowly, and you exhale with the smallest contented sound. Around you, the hum of electronics holds steady. Once in a while, a relay makes a delicate click, and you look up briefly, acknowledging the little sound as one recognizes a friend in the hallway. You write a short note in the log. The night moves forward like a tide that refuses to hurry. Long after the worlds of cars and speeches and crowded rooms go quiet, this observatory keeps its own soft counsel. When the detector sees things at the edge of perception, noise is a faithful companion. It is not a nuisance, but a backdrop against which signal becomes noticeable, like the gentle rustling of leaves that makes a bird's movement in a tree easier to spot. The photomultipliers have dark counts. The electronics have a baseline. The system knows how to subtract, how to average, how to let randomness cancel itself and leave meaning behind. Triggers ask for patterns that are unlikely to be random. They do so without hurrying. A brief spike here and a short line there may be ignored, but 10 sensors winking in a coherent sequence can lift their voices enough to earn a place in the record, and the software wraps those hits into a quiet package and sets it on the shelf. Some parts of the detector face outward to cosmic rays that reach from space and break into showers as they meet the air. In many designs, there are veto systems that listen from the edges and raise a calm hand to say that this sequence likely belongs to the sky above, not the neutrino passing through the Earth. With that soft gesture, the event is set aside or treated with a different expectation. The lake of data remains clear. The patience remains unbroken. In this line of work, people often talk about ice as pure as glass or water as quiet as a cathedral at dawn. They measure clarity in lengths that would dwarf any swimming pool. It matters because Cherenkov light needs room to ripple outward to draw its clean cone in space. The longer it can travel, the more sensors it touches and the more precise the reconstruction becomes. That precision helps draw a picture, not a photograph, but a map of timing, little footsteps that tell you where the particle went and how strong it was. The narrative is never shouted. It is assembled like a mosaic, tile by tile, into something that conveys nature's intent. The gentle rhythm continues. Imagine yourself stepping into the corridor and walking slowly along the row of racks. There are labels with tidy codes, secure at each unit's edge. Fiber optic cables run in careful bundles, tied with soft loops, their connectors seated with small, satisfying clicks. The air is cool, but not cold. A fan vibrates just enough to tell you that air is moving, carrying heat away, making room for more quiet work. You touch a metal door lightly, it gives a muted response. The observatory is a good place for gentle sounds. You return to your chair and bring up a set of old events for a calibration cross-check. The curves overlay with a reassuring closeness. The color scheme is soft, a pale blue for the baseline, a hushed green for the fit, a gentle amber for the experimental points. Their slight deviations are comforting, a reminder that the world is ever so slightly complicated, and that this complexity is treasured, not feared. You note a minor difference in one sector and add it to the to-do list for a daytime colleague. Calibration is a friendship between expectation and reality, and both sides treat each other with patience. History lives in the observatory gently. There is a photograph on the wall, maybe, of a large steel tank from decades ago, or of people in clean suits next to a shining array. Faces and hands, relaxed and focused. People who trusted time to do its work. It is appealing to think of how many nights like this have passed, how many cups of tea, how many lines in logbooks, and how these small efforts accumulate into understanding. Neutrinos once seemed silent. Now they are a quiet language that many observatories know how to read. Underground water, Cherenkov detectors, liquid scintillator halls, long beams sent through the earth to faraway detectors in a carefully staged ballet. Cubic kilometers of crystal ice listening under the polar stars. Each place plays a note. Together they form a subdued harmony. In the stillness, you sense the path of a neutrino as a kind of folded journey. It may begin in the core of a star, among dense, hot layers that never touch space. It drifts outward without delay, almost completely unhindered, carrying the conditions of that hidden furnace. And later, it whispers those conditions to the instruments that know how to listen. It may begin in a reactor, where people harness binding energy, and it drifts with a signature of human effort. It may begin deep in the Earth's crust and mantle, a participant in geology's slow cycle, announcing the heat that stirs the planet's interior. In every case, the neutrino is patient, and your observatory responds in kind. The night walks forward. Your eyes are not heavy yet, but they are tranquil. The console's glow is a small horizon you can trust. A message blinks briefly in the corner of the screen, and you read it without urgency. It is a routine note from the automatic monitor, confirming that the temperature drift of a subsystem remains within a narrow, comfortable band. You acknowledge and return to your loop. The gentle rhythm continues. On the far end of the hall, a set of flashing lights marks the storage system at work, writing data to a safe enclave, duplicating it to a mirror elsewhere, smoothing the edges of any interruption. It is all very quiet. In a different building, someone might be writing code for the reconstruction pipeline, the algorithm that turns hits into tracks, tracks into directions, directions into sky maps. They work in daylight, perhaps, and send their version for testing. At some night shift in the future, a new set of curves will look even cleaner. The fit will hug the points just a little closer, and the world will have one more gentle reason to feel well understood. You glance out a small window. The view might be a night sky punctuated by distant stars that do not twinkle at this latitude, or it might be a darkness lit by a single outdoor lamp with a halo carved by fog. The air beyond is still. A faint path of footprints from daytime workers leads away and turns a corner. You imagine them filled with snow tomorrow, or washed soft by dew. The building is a ship at anchor, rocking not at all, riding a perfectly calm sea of night. Within this stillness, the rare flashes continue, measured by the patient eye below. The gentle rhythm continues. From time to time, the observatory contributes to a map of the sky. But it is not a map anyone would hang on a bright wall. It is not a photograph in the usual sense. Instead, it is a slow accumulation of where events came from and how strong they seem to be. Places in the sky that wish to be known, like the regions near supermassive black holes or the remnants of older explosions, may show themselves in these maps as a whisper of excess, a small swell on an otherwise even field. There is no rush to declare. The observatory waits for the signal to stand up from the background without raising its voice. When the time is right, a paper will be written in precise language that does not try to startle anyone awake. It will simply place a small new fact on the table. Others will nod, read it over tea, and add it to the slow tapestry of the field. The cables and the clocks do not ask for attention very often. When they do, their needs are gentle. A connector wants reseating. A ground loop asks for a fresh path. A timing offset calls for a slight change. In the world of delicate measurements, even small adjustments are made with a soft hand and a quiet mind. Every turn of a screw is deliberate but unhurried. Every verification step is recorded. You find satisfaction in such steadiness. It is easy to breathe deeply and let your mind float while your hands move in well-practiced patterns. The tops of your shoulders relax again as if the air itself helps them settle. The gentle rhythm continues. Because neutrinos so rarely interact, almost everything about this work is about volume and time. Very large volumes of transparent media, very long times of careful listening. This is why mountains and ice fields, old mines and remote plateaus are such friendly places for the detectors. Their mass is there, their silence is there, and their isolation keeps stray signals away. The planet itself becomes a filter and a shield. It is pleasing to imagine the globe turning, carrying the detector slowly, so that over the course of a day, you listen to one set of directions and then another, letting you build a more complete picture than any snapshot could provide. Day by day, the integration grows, like a faint photograph developing, turning from silver gray to a soft clarity. You recall that neutrinos come in three flavors, and that their softly changing identities mean they are not massless. The difference between their masses is small, the absolute scale smaller still, and yet the exact values matter to the way they separated in the early universe. Knowing their properties helps write the story of why the world looks the way it does. That is the solemn beauty of quiet science. You tighten one stitch in a very large tapestry, and the pattern becomes a little more defined. The gentle rhythm continues. The processing pipeline transforms raw hits into something a person can hold in the mind. First, the instrument groups hits into events by looking at timing. Then it tries shapes and possibilities, fitting the data the way a tailor checks fabric on a form. Is there a long track, suggesting a moon slicing through? Is there a more spherical bloom of light, a cascade that hints at another interaction? The algorithm does not rush. It tests, compares, settles, records. It knows that this doesn't have to be finished tonight. The story is in the accumulation. There is a thin binder at your elbow that contains run plans and notes for special sequences. You flip to a tab with the smooth motion of habit. A section describes an atmospheric neutrino study, a part of the long effort to map how oscillations change with distance and energy. Another tab lists the parameters for a calibration where a known light source sweeps through angles, gently pushing the detector to confirm its delicately measured symmetries. A few pages later, a long-term trend of water purity in a reservoir shows an elegantly stable line, occasionally punctuated by a small uptick that was noted, studied, and resolved. In a universe where many things come and go quickly, it is satisfying to care for something that asked for quiet attention across years. With a few keystrokes, you open the slow control interface for the photomultiplier. High voltages. They are applied with steadiness, and their values are not changed in jolts. The system has safeguards that think several steps ahead. If one sensor needs to ramp, it does so over minutes, not seconds. Even the changes honor the need for stillness. You watch a curve rise slightly, then level out in the comfort of its plateau. The gentle rhythm continues. Imagine a night at the South Pole, where the air is thin and the sky is a lid of black scattered with small, steady stars. No trees, no birds, no insects, just the breath of wind and the soft squeak of compacted snow under boots. Deep below, the strings of optical sensors hang in millennia-old ice, which is clear enough to make light feel at home. A neutrino enters, and if it has the rare inclination, leaves a trail of radiance that travels for many meters, a pale blue that the sensors taste as timing. The control room here is warmed by human presence, and the screens speak in quiet numbers. The night has a feeling like the hush inside a large library. You find yourself moving a little slower, as if the air requests kindness. Imagine another night under mountain stone, perhaps in a place that once saw miners with lamps and now sees physicists with clipboards and laptops. The corridor is smooth and clean. The detector is a volume of water darker than midnight, with a lattice of sensors turned inward, waiting with gentle care. Sometimes there is a tiny sound as the building settles, a healthy sign that mass and structure are comfortable together. A sense of safety pervades. You are well below weather and traffic. The world above goes about its business, and you are here below the bustle, listening to the cosmos, in a voice that modern life rarely lets us hear. You note the time and confirm the daily status report will assemble itself at dawn. Overnight shifts like this one supply a steady stream of small confirmations that help everyone else understand that the instrument is healthy. It is a pleasant thought that your quiet watchfulness shapes the edges of tomorrow's meeting, not because something dramatic happened, but because the absence of drama is a form of success. The gentle rhythm continues. Your chair creaks just a little as you adjust your legs. You pause to feel the stretch along the backs of your knees, the sensation as blood settles where it wants to be. The air moves just enough to touch your skin. The light on your keyboard is warm white, a friendly glow that picks out the letters without calling attention to itself. Each key press is a soft thud, more felt than heard. You enter a few comments about a calibration that completed perfectly, a few words about the alert system's idle night, and a small note that a single sensor showed a harmless variation and returned to its quiet center. Little sentences, neat and thoroughly human. Long ago, someone drew up the plans for this detector. Someone else wrote the first line of code. Someone else placed the first sensor. Many hands, many minds, each doing a piece of the long, calm work. That work reflects a belief that the universe makes sense when we listen well enough, and that listening can be as gentle as standing at the edge of a pond and watching ripples widen from a leaf that touched the surface. Your job is to tend the pond, to keep the water clear, to let the ripples speak for themselves. Still awake. Comment the secret word, nebula. The midpoint of the night often feels like a plateau, a soft balance between what has already passed and what remains. Your focus is steady, your breathing slow. The control room is the same room it was at dusk and will be at dawn, only the angle of your awareness has drifted slightly from edge to center and back again. You adjust a screen's brightness by one notch and watch the colors settle into a more restful palette. The gentle rhythm continues. At the edge of your memory, there are stories of older detectors with tanks the size of small buildings, with cathode wires humming gently in liquid that glowed in rare flashes. In those times, people counted by hand, double-checked on paper, and felt the same calm satisfaction when a new understanding emerged. The scale is larger now, the software more intricate, the volumes deeper, the networks broader. But the heart of the matter is unchanged. Waiting, watching, recording, and sharing what you find, all done without ceremony. The observatory doesn't want applause. It prefers whispered appreciation. A colleague on a different shift might send a small note across a low-traffic channel. The message arrives with friendly brevity, a prompt to remind you to run a longer calibration later, or a suggestion to check aboard if a slightly unusual pattern appears. You smile, read, and file the note, not because anything is urgent, but because stewardship is a shared duty, offered in a spirit of calm trust. The words join the quiet hum of the room, part of the texture of this night. The neutrinos themselves, if they could be aware of the observatory, would likely continue unhindered, unaffected, indifferent, in the most peaceful sense. They are not elusive out of malice. They simply do not interact often. Their lives are long and simple. For you, this means that each detected event is a gift from statistics and patience. You never grow tired of the idea that behind every line of code and every glass sphere, there is a profound respect for something that does not announce itself. The gentle rhythm continues. You look up a trending panel that shows the rate of atmospheric neutrino candidates over the past few months. The line is smooth, with seasonal undulations that reflect the changing density of air. In summer, a slightly different curve than in winter, each point a soft dot placed by the passage of time. You remember that the atmosphere has its own gentle cycles, which touch everything from ground-level breezes to flight paths of high-altitude streams. And those cycles leave a signature even in the neutrino count. The world is coherent in such a soothing way. Everything connects, but nothing presses. On a lower screen, a tiny world map shows the locations of partner observatories and data centers. A quiet pulse marks their regular check-ins, each a tiny beacon of health. Somewhere far away, another night shift is doing the same slow dance of attention and comfort. Daylight or darkness, it makes no difference. The cadence of observation continues across time zones. It is a mild thought that helps the control room feel both grounded and connected, a small node in a wide network of listening places. Now, the trigger stream shows a modest run of events clustered around a consistent direction in the lower hemisphere. Reconstruction suggests a pleasing alignment of tracks. You mark the run for daytime analysis. You feel no rush to interpret. The world can be trusted to hold the data until the right hour and the right minds are gathered. You poke at the timeline, zooming gently to confirm there are no confounding artifacts. Everything looks comfortably normal. The gentle rhythm continues. Your tea is gone, and you replace it with a sip of cool water. The water tastes the way clean air feels. Each swallow is like a reset for your senses. Hydration in a room like this is both practical and ceremonial. It marks the passing of time without making time heavy. You set the cup down and let your hand rest where it falls, feeling the smooth surface of the desk, the mild texture of the mouse pad, a small circle of familiar space that anchors you gently to the world. The notion that neutrinos rarely interact leads to a sheltering effect for the mind. Many problems in life demand quick, reactive thinking. This observatory invites you to be completely present without hurry. Day after day, night after night, the signals accumulate. Outliers are noted, not feared. Corrections are applied gradually. Systems are improved without uproar, and the results are shared in well-tempered writing. Sentences that move at walking speed, carefully placing each idea so that others can walk beside them. The gentle rhythm continues. Close by, on a side table, sits a tool kit. The tools are ordinary, and each rests in its shaped indentation. A small screwdriver with a soft grip, a spare fiber cleaning kit in a labeled pouch, a lint-free cloth folded neatly over a packet of desiccant. They wait in case a door needs opening, a connector needs attention, a sensor cover needs dusting. You appreciate the way each item has a place. The simple order is itself soothing. Every object is a promise that care can be applied gently, that maintenance is part of observation, not a disruption of it. At the height of stillness, you consider the Earth's unending rain of neutrinos. Thousands upon thousands pass through you in every heartbeat. They bring news you cannot feel, but your instrument can. Some come from the sun's fusion cycles, where hydrogen becomes helium and light. Others come from cosmic ray collisions in the upper atmosphere, where particles split and tumble and decay, leaving neutrinos as a subtle trace. A few may come from cataclysm far away, although even the word cataclysm feels too loud here. Think instead of a distant change, a gentle shift in a far star's life, born in silence where your ears cannot go. The observatory hears it through the faint quickening of its own pulse. The gentle rhythm continues. When the time arrives to run a longer calibration, you guide the system through the steps with the ease of someone reading a familiar recipe. Start the light source. Validate the intensity. Step through the angles. Confirm the timing. Let the pulses roll like counting waves. Watch the log fill with simple confirmations. In a few minutes, the plot aligns neatly with last week's. A small deviation becomes a note to watch, not a flame of alarm. You close the sequence and save the results. The night is pleased. On the wall, a clock moves like the gentlest metronome. Its hands do not tick audibly, they slide. A faint pattern on the face catches the light, and for a moment, it looks like ripples on the surface of a lake. You can almost hear a leaf fall into that lake. The smallest plop rings expanding, touching the shore with a sigh. Your body translates that image into a sensation of relaxation. Your pulse matches the lake. The gentle rhythm continues. Somewhere down the hall, a door opens slowly and closes with a muffled seal. A colleague on a different schedule might be making rounds or checking a refrigeration unit that keeps something stable. Their footsteps recede and disappear. The observatory breathes on unchanged. It is the kind of building where people instinctively lower their voices, not because anyone demands it, but because it feels right to meet the instruments at their level. Your words here are meant to last, so you set them down lightly. At the console, the night's data volume has crossed the midpoint. The bars in the daily tally show even spacing, like fence posts receding into mist. You open a small dialogue and scroll through a list of runs, each labeled with a time and a gentle descriptor. One holds an atmospheric burst of muons caught in the veto system. Another shows the Earth crossing track you tagged earlier. Another is a blank run, an intentional empty of the instrument to confirm baselines and noise. The variety is calming in its own way. It reminds you that a quiet night is never empty. It is filled with little notes, some played, some held, all contributing to a conserved and meaningful chord. You lean back slightly and let your eyes wander across the ceiling. There's a pattern in the tiles, a grid that further softens your gaze. The lights here are not harsh. They are placed to avoid glare and eye strain. A dimmer glows in the corner like a polite star. It is easy to imagine you are underwater, and that these are the reflections of a distant surface. In deep detectors, water is both material and metaphor. It supports, it reveals, and it invites gentle patience. The gentle rhythm continues. At a slow interval, you check the external data links. The connections breathe in their own way, sending and receiving packetized comfort, the heartbeat of the network. Latency graphs hover low and flat. Dropped packets are tiny, singular, and of no consequence, soon retried and restored. In an age where information often darts and demands and insists, it is nice to see it moving like a procession here, each element in its turn, careful and precise, supporting the instruments, not overshadowing them. You could write, if you wished, about the equations that underlie this work, about cross-sections that are sol and yet not zero, about probabilities that depend on energies and angles and the ghostly shifting of flavors. But tonight, equations feel unnecessary. The instruments know the math, and they apply it without complaint. Your job is to keep them in tune. Instead of symbols, you collect small impressions of order. Vertical lines on a plot that do not wobble, dots that hug a curve. The comforting symmetry of a latency map that looks the same day after day. If you listen closely enough, every machine speaks with a voice that can become familiar. The servers whisper in fanned speak. The calibration units murmur as they warm. The screens sigh softly when their pixels change. To a newcomer, these sounds would be just noise. To you, they are characters in a small cast, each maintaining the stage for the night's performance. No one is soloing. Everyone supports the ensemble. The gentle rhythm continues. Occasionally, an automated system adds a correction to compensate for a slow drift in a temperature sensor or a high voltage supply. The correction is small, the change gradual. The log notes it with a phrase that might almost be tender. Correction applied, target restored, watching. These phrases, written by someone who cared about clarity, make the control room feel as if it is humming an old song that everyone knows and that everyone sings in key. You think about the people who will arrive in the morning, stepping into a room that smells faintly of dust and warm plastic, setting down their bags and greeting the night with a few quiet questions that you will answer in your notes. They will bring a different energy, not harsh, just daylight's gentler firmness. They will plan analysis tasks, schedule small maintenance, and perhaps share a polite laugh at a tiny quirk of a plot. Their voices will be the day's music. For now, the night keeps its melody soft. With a few minutes spare, you browse the log from a night months ago, when the detectors caught a slightly elevated rate spread across the array, and how the team compared notes and confirmed that it was a minor environmental effect, not anything to hold with suspicion. The way they explained it to one another is soothing, precise, non-judgmental, careful to allow for uncertainty, careful to avoid drama. Reading their words makes you feel that you are part of a lineage of steady hands on steady instruments. The gentle rhythm continues, the persistent background of the universe, the hum that fills space, includes neutrinos as a subtle ingredient. They move without friction, rarely pausing to chat, continuing onward as if they love to travel. Detectors do not trap them, they greet them. When a greeting is acknowledged, however rarely, it goes into the ledger. A ledger is patient. It does not mind that pages take years to fill. It is content with its own slow poetry. There are times when the observatory collaborates with telescopes that see light, or instruments that feel gravity waves, or other detectors that listen to different particles. In those moments, the world of measurement feels like a set of friends assembling around a campfire, each bringing a different story, each speaking in turn, no one interrupting, and all enjoying the same view of the same stars. A neutrino arrival from a particular direction can add a quiet note to that conversation. It does not claim the center, it enriches the edge. The gentle rhythm continues. Once in a while, the control software presents you with a small puzzle. A sensor shows a slightly new behavior, and you weigh the possibilities in your mind. Is the variation linked to the last change in the cooling system? Does it correlate with a minor ground noise noted in a daytime report? You do not need to decide immediately. You add a line to the shift log with a timestamp, the observation, and a few likely culprits. You assign a calm priority level and move on. Sleeping problems often solve themselves by resolving into patterns over time. The instrument knows this. It keeps going, and you accompany it. The hours proceed with their gentle cadence. You may feel like taking a small stretch walk, carefully, keeping your awareness on the monitors as you pass. Your steps are slow, your shoulders loosen, your arms fall at your sides. You return and feel that the chair has become almost a part of you, the cushion remembering your shape, the desk a familiar shore. The lighting feels a shade warmer. The tea memory lingers. The gentle rhythm continues. Midway through a routine check, an event appears with a shape that is quietly pleasing. The reconstructed track is long and steady, its inferred arrival direction threading through the earth. It is exactly the kind of event that helps the day team make careful maps and tests. You tag it for people who enjoy reading the sky. There is no fanfare. You simply add a note and watch it settle into the data flow, one more letter in a very long letter from the universe to itself. When you reflect on the value of such letters, it is not about predictions of spectacle. It is about coherence. Every piece that fits makes all the other pieces rest more comfortably. To witness that fit is a forms of rest for you as well. There is a quiet reciprocity in that. The instrument offers you its steadiness, and you return it with your presence. A printer at the far end of the room makes a soft rustle as it wakes to deliver a single page. It is a status summary. You let it finish and retrieve it later. Paper is a gentle artifact, crisp and tangible, and the smell of warm paper in a cool room is a simple pleasure. The sheet slides into a binder, the binder into a shelf, the shelf into a room that will stand unchanged for years. The gentle rhythm continues. The night inevitably leans toward morning. Between now and then, nothing needs to change in the way you listen. The observatory will continue to listen in the way it always has, indifferent to sunrise, aware only of time as a sequence of ordered stamps against which to compare hits. Your mind is content with this. The ordinary world's obligations feel far away. as if the observatory has folded a blanket between you and them. You will step back into them later, rested, carrying a small calm that is difficult to disturb. The sources of neutrinos are varied, but each is a version of a story about transformation. Particles change identities, nuclei shift, fields exchange energy. In the observatory, you witness the echo of these transformations at the quietest possible amplitude. In everyday life, transformation is often loud. Here, it is nearly silent. That difference is a relief. The gentle rhythm continues. The night's final tasks assemble themselves. The automated report composes a summary with neatly aligned texts and small, unassuming charts. You add a few lines that give context. You leave a short message for the day team, wishing them a beautiful morning and a smooth continuation. You check the alert panel one last time. All is well. You confirm the scheduled downtime later in the week or a modest upgrade to a cooling fan. You smile because even upgrades are softened into routine. The observatory hums. Imagine yourself now rising from the chair with a slow, comfortable motion, gathering your things without hurry, and taking in the calm unity of the room one last time. The screens show their restful greens and soft blues. The panels are content. The logs are up to date. The world outside remains dark or has become a charcoal dawn. If snow is out there, it holds your footprints lightly. If rock is above you, it keeps its quiet guardianship. If ice extends beyond the door, it waits with patience that matches your own. The gentle rhythm continues. As you step toward the exit, you think about the likes and subscriptions that let a channel like this keep spending time on such gentle stories. When you feel ready, you can tap subscribe and like so we can keep releasing these calm night watches. For now, you can let those thoughts drift like motes in a shaft of light. Your presence here is enough. The observatory will keep listening. Neutrinos will keep traveling. The universe will keep whispering. And you can rest in the certainty that the quiet hunt never demands a chase. It is a patient companionship. The corridor receives you like a soft river. The air brushes your cheek. A distant door breathes open for the morning crew. You move past instrument rooms with their sleeping eyes and nod as if to old friends. In your pocket, the small weight of your keys reminds you of the simple boundaries between spaces and of the small rituals that make each space feel tended and whole. You breathe long and slow. You have been part of a night of listening. When you finally leave, the world meets you with its wider sounds, but they do not push. They are filtered by the memory of the observatory's hush. Traffic, if present, is a distant murmur. Wind, if present, has a velvet edge. A bird, if present, speaks only once. You carry forward the shape of the console's glow and the feeling of a plot line hugging its fit. These become a kind of inner lullaby. The gentle rhythm continues. If you're already drifting, let yourself sink. If you are awake but side around the edges, let the edges soften more. The sky, the ice, the water, the rock, the instruments, the people, the particles, all these have agreed for one night to join in a slow dance of attention. The neutrino's whisper meets the sensors listening, and the sensors listening meets your calm. When you return to the world after your rest, the observatory will still be there, caring for the quiet part of the universe, waiting without urgency, holding capacity for more understanding. For now, let your breath be the metronome. Inhale gently, exhale slowly. Imagine yourself back in the control room, the soft glow on your face, the faint hum, the safe presence of a steady tool. Each breath is a graceful event, a small signal in the noise of day made meaningful by your attention. The numbers roll, the logs fill, the neutrinos pass. The gentle rhythm continues. You are safe here. You are welcome here. You are part of a practice that is old and will continue long after tonight, not because it is flashy, but because it is faithful. If your eyes begin to close, let them. If your thoughts begin to float, let them. The observatory will not mind if you rest while it watches. It knows its job. It likes its job. It does it best when the world is quiet. When you wake, you may remember a faint blue cone of light threading through a deep, clear medium. You may remember a warm chair and a soft click. You may remember nearly nothing at all, just a feeling of having been somewhere calm. All of these are fine. Sleep is a kind colleague. It arrives silently and leaves a note. Your note might simply say that everything is all right. The gentle rhythm continues. As you settle fully, know that this story and others like it are waiting any time you want to drift into them. If you'd like more nights in observatories, more journeys into quiet science, you can softly subscribe and leave a like so we can keep releasing videos this often. For now, rest well, feel safe, and let the quiet hunt for almost unnoticeable particles continue without you for a little while. The universe will keep whispering, and the observatory will keep listening, and you can simply sleep